ready for the message? Come on. Okay, I am too. I'm very excited for it. So in the spirit of our graduation day promotion type vibe, today is called Graduation Day. The title is This is the Moment, right? And I was kind of praying about this quite a bit. And first I wanted to pray this really fun message. As you guys know, we've been doing our Family Month series, most of you know. And so last week we talked about singles and being able to really enjoy your singleness. And I don't know about y'all, but I enjoyed my singleness. No, maybe a little too much, but no. And then before that, we talked about our marriages and enjoying that season of life. And I really actually enjoy my season of marriage more than I've enjoyed any other season of my life as it pertains to other people. And I'm just so blessed by this wonderful lady in the front. But she really is my rock outside of the Lord. But so we talked about that, and then I have the distinct pleasure today. The topic was kids. It's kids, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna, maybe I want to give kind of a kids message of kids, honor and obey your parents. And then I was like, that doesn't quite feel right. And I was like, well, you know what? I'm gonna give a message about parents. And I was praying about it. And I was like, parents, let your kids go, let them grow up. Has anybody ever seen Major Pain? Never mind. Anyway, if you've seen it, you already know where I'm going, and I'm not going to say it on the stage. So I was like, okay, maybe that'll be the message. And then as I was praying about it, the Lord was like, you know what? I want you to talk to all my kids. We are all sons and daughters of God, right? And so he started to point me in this story specifically, and it was more about transition and going through kind of a promotion in your life. I was like, okay, well, let me start researching this. And so the first thing that I kind of want to talk to you guys is, have you ever stood at the edge of a monumental moment? Now, for a lot of the folks in this room, maybe you just stood on that moment of I just graduated high school, or I just graduated college. That's a huge monumental moment. Or for some of us, it might be I just got a promotion at work. Yeah, praise him, more moolah. Maybe it's that. For some, it's I'm about to get married, or I just recently got married, and that's a major transition in your life. And all of us kind of face these different kind of transitions where it's our graduation day, right? It's this monumental moment where something shifts for us. Another big one, as we kind of talk about families, at least for me, was becoming a parent. That is a major shift. And so I don't know, especially for some of you that are now, going oh yeah, my favorite biscuit eater just graduated high school. For some of us, it's such a hard thing because nobody gives you a manual that says hey, when your kid does A, you do B. You're just handed this living being that you're supposed to somehow raise into this great functioning member of society. That is a huge monumental transition, changes everything. And if you think it doesn't, if you're married now and you don't have kids, get ready, because it changes everything in your house. Date night, you're going to have to figure that out differently. You know what I'm saying? Now instead you get a crying baby and throw up on every shirt. It's just a different vibe. It's a huge transition. And so the Lord kind of started showing me these stories of transition in the Bible, and there's a lot of them. There's the story between Elijah and Elisha when that mantle is passed, and then there's Paul and Timothy where that transition happens, right? And then even if you look at the story of Jesus and the disciples, it's the same kind of transition story that for a lot of the parents in the room, you will face or are facing now, where all of a sudden it's man, this is my baby boy, my baby girl, and now it's you graduated high school and I'm supposed to let you go into the world. You're not ready. There's this huge feeling of that, right? The same thing with Jesus and the disciples, right? Jesus is with them, and the disciples are it's cool. For our kids in the room, I just want you to hear this. All of a sudden, all the bills become yours, right? This is a major thing. All of a sudden, you graduate or transition, you start trying to move out on your own, and you're wait, I gotta pay for insurance? You know what I'm saying? I got to pay for gas? Where are the cameras? This is a prank. So it just feels very different all of a sudden, right? And so in the same way, like the disciples were like, yeah, we're good. Like we got this. Jesus is here. He's the safety net. We can go out and heal the sick because we got the power. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of like all the kids are like, man, I know I can go to the movies because I know where mom's wallet is. Like, you know what I mean? All of a sudden, there's not that. But the one I want to focus on today is a transition between Moses and a guy named Joshua. And so we're going to jump into Deuteronomy chapter 31. And we're going to start looking at this transition because I believe that what God is starting to kind of show me and us and what I'm supposed to share with you guys today is about the transition from childhood. The transition from kind of being like a kid where you've got a safety net and you've got a covering and it's not necessarily all on you to like, wait a minute, all of a sudden it is. Right? And this is kind of the perspective that I want us to kind of think of as kids. This absolutely applies in a work situation or in a marriage or especially with parents and young people. It will absolutely apply. But I'm telling you, it really applies to all of us. So let's take a look at Deuteronomy. I want to set it up a little bit for you. If you know the story of Moses, I'll make a very, very long story. Exodus. I'll make a very long story very short. Long story short, there's these people called the Israelites. They are in captivity. They're in bondage. They're in Egypt over a pretty corrupt leader who is, they've got them in slavery and he's beating them and, killing some of them and all these different things. And God calls Moses to bring them out of this kind of bondage and out of that place and move the Israelites into his promised place, right? Into the promised land. And so they start kind of transitioning, and they actually are headed there. They've been journeying to the promised place for 40 years. Like it's been 40 years that they've been going around mountains and journeying together out in the desert. And now what's happening is that Moses is going, man, I can't keep doing this. It's time for me to transition because God is telling him that. And hey, what's up, son? And so it's time to do that. And this is where we're going to pick up the story, is right in that moment where God is kind of downloading to Moses and getting ready to create this major seismic transition for all of the Israelites who have been really comfortable under Moses' leadership. Cool? Okay, so verse 1 says, then Moses went out and spoke these words to all of Israel. I am now 120 years old. Whoa. And I am no longer able to lead you. The Lord has said to me, you shall not cross the Jordan. The Lord your God himself will cross over and ahead of you. First off, I don't know that I highlighted it in the first one, but I just want to say, he said, the Lord has said to me. The first sign of a great leader, and what I want to encourage you guys, he first gets with the Lord and says, what do you have to say about the situation, right? Want to follow a leader who's following God. The Lord has said to me. It should always start that way. The Lord has made it clear to me, so now I'm sharing it with you, right? Okay, and so he says, cross over. God will cross over ahead of you. He says he will destroy these nations before you, and you will take possession of their land. Joshua also will cross over ahead of you. Again, key sign number 2. Hey, God said he's going to go before you. Also, God is saying Joshua is in line, in step with what God is saying to do. He's going before you as well. Right? So right off the bat, he's making it clear to all of the Israelites, all of the people, hey, this is what God says. I've been listening to the Lord, and this person God is calling to go before you is in step with his calling, with his plan and his purpose for you. Cool? Okay. And then the Lord will do to them what he did to Sihon and Og, the kings of the Amorites, whom he destroyed along with their land. The Lord will deliver them to you. They must be delivered. Okay, I'm going to jump just for the sake of time because I want to be careful about time. And at the very end, on verse 6, it says, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them. For the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. So again, he addresses the people and he says, hey, be strong and be courageous. Why? Because the Lord is with you. He goes with you and he will never leave you. He will never forsake you. Cool? Okay. Yeah, for the sake of time, I'm going to stop there. Okay, so here's the deal. Right off the bat, one of the things that's kind of interesting to me is that he before he addresses anything with Joshua, before he even tells anybody else, like, hey, this is who the leader is going to be, he establishes, hey, I've been praying with the Lord. I've been spending time with him. This is what he says. So for every single person in the room, as you're going through transition, one of the first most important things that we could do is begin to spend time with God. If you've got question marks in your life, in your marriage, in your family, in your finances, in your future, one of the first things that I want to encourage you guys to do is get away and begin to spend time with the Lord, because he will lead and direct your path and steps. He promises that that's what he will do. He even says he's not the author of confusion, so he's not leaving you out in the wilderness with unknown purpose and promise. He says, man, just come and spend time with me. Cool? Okay. After that, verse 7, then he says, then Moses summoned Joshua and said to him to the presence of all Israel, be strong and courageous. There we hear it again, but now he's talking to Joshua. And he says, for you must go with this people into the land that the Lord swore to their ancestors to give to them, and you must divide it among them as their inheritance. The Lord himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. Do you see that the very same thing he said to everyone else, then he turns to Joshua. Now, one of the interesting things for me as I was reading this was like, Joshua didn't, you can read in the scripture, Joshua never is like, me, pick me. Like, I want to lead. Like, he never once. It wasn't popular vote. There wasn't like a bulletin insert amongst the Israelites that were like, hey, vote for Joshua. Like, it was nothing like that. All of a sudden, it was just, hey, God's called each of them. God's called Moses to step down, and he's called Joshua to step up. That's it. That's all there was to it. He's called Moses to step down and Joshua to step up, right? Here's what I want to say to you guys. For point number one, there's a couple of takeaways that I want to make sure that we nail down, right? God prepares us for promised places. God prepares you for promised places, even if you can't see it. Here's my point to that. Joshua was being prepared along the way. He actually spent a ton of time with Moses, but not along that journey did he keep hearing, you're going to take over, you're going to lead. There was no point in time where he was hearing, you're going to take over, you're going to lead, and all of a sudden Moses is calling him in front of the very people he's been serving and saying, hey, you're it, it's your turn. Right? You're it, it's your turn. But God prepares us for promised places. Joshua wasn't just randomly thrown in. He had been serving for decades as Moses' aide, right? Like, he was the guy that was going into battle. He spent years learning underneath Moses. He spent a lifetime really getting prepared and being faithful in the small things, in the little, before he became ruler over much, right? And so this is one of the things, again, that I want you to recognize, that as God begins to prepare us for promised places, it's part of our responsibility to take heed to that preparation. It's part of our responsibility to say, all right, God, yes, I want more. Yes, I need more. Yes, I know you're calling me for more. Prepare me, Lord. Like, I'll lean in, and I'm going to trust you, and I'm going to do the things that you're calling me to do. But here's the thing. Don't discount the humble beginnings. Don't discount the preparation. There's so often where I hear people that are like, man, I want to pastor. And it's like, okay, have you ever led a small group? Do you even know how to pray? Like, you know what I mean? Like I want to lead worship. You can't play anything. Like start here first. And it might take a while. And that's okay. Because it's not according to my timeline or yours, it's according to his. And we've got to trust him in the process that he is preparing us for a promised place. Right? And if we're not there yet, again, when Moses and the Israelites struck out, nowhere in that message did he say, hey, it's going to take 40 years. But they said, hey, I'm not there yet, so I'll just keep going. Like, I'm not there yet, so I'll just keep going. If you've got a desire in your heart and you say, man, I want to lead, I want to grow, I want to serve God to a greater degree, I want my family to love God differently than they do today, I want my marriage to look like more peaceful and with more love than it does today, I want my finances to look differently than what it does today, then you can't discount the season of preparation that you might be in and to say, hey, you know what, God, it's all right. And here's the reason why. Graduation is proof that God has been getting you ready for what's next. So first it's preparation, then it's graduation. We don't graduate until we prepare, and the minute that we graduate, we're moving on to something else, right? Like, and I want to be clear, like, It wasn't all like sunshine and roses for this transition, right? Because one of the things for Joshua is that he was taking over for the only leader that the Israelites had ever known. Like, this was a legendary, man, this was kind of a big deal, right? They went from being enslaved and captive, right? They went from being a people who really had no hope, right? To being like, man, Moses is my guy. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden there's Joshua who kind of comes in, and it's like, well, how do you take over for a legendary leader? Like, those are some big shoes to fill, right? And furthermore, how do you take over for a legendary leader when the position that you've been in is, well, you're just Moses' guy? Most people were used to seeing Joshua behind the scenes, if anything, being kind of Moses' guy, right? But now he's being stepped into a different transition of identity and authority. And it's the reason why Moses very clearly publicly lays hands on him and says, hey, the transition is here, and now it's time for you to step up. It's time for you to kind of take the reins, right? He went from Moses' assistant. So here's the thing. Here's the thing. So I'm just going to call it like I see it. I hesitated in the first service, and I'm hesitating now. And here's the reason why. Some of you guys won't like it, but I'm going to say it anyway. This message, as I began to kind of prepare for it, is two things. It's a message for every single individual and a message for parents and young people who are transitioning in their life. It's a very practical, functional message as far as transition goes. But beyond that, it is a message that absolutely applies to this church, right? Like 100%. And the more and more that I began to pray into this thing, and as we continue to unpack this, you'll begin to see that actually this is a message that absolutely applies to this church. Because sometimes in that middle place of transition, we want to keep looking back and going, but what about the previous person? And what about the previous things? And what about the way we used to do it? But it's different on the other side of a finished calling. It's different on the other side of a finished work, right? So here's the thing I'm going to say. Key takeaway number 2, God calls us to step up and out in faith. It's always part of what he does. So I want to read Joshua 1, and then we're going to talk a little bit more and unpack what I just said. But Joshua 1, it says, after the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord said to Joshua, son of Nun, Moses' aide, Moses, my servant, is dead. Joshua had to face this hard reality that the mentor that he had always known, the safety net he had always had, and the person who he had always kind of leaned on is gone. Just gone. And now it's his turn. And again, he didn't ask for that. He didn't raise his hand. He didn't sign up. The people didn't vote. God just called him. And it was like, well, I guess that's what we're doing. Here's what I want to say. Every graduate in this room, if you're close to graduating, so maybe you're close to graduating college or you're close to graduating high school, you went from junior to senior year, or you just finished high school, you just finished college, no matter what your transition is, every person in this room who is going through transition in their life, in their marriage, in their family, in their finances, there's some things that we have to kind of recognize. We go from leading, right, or from being taught to leading. Like, we have to. We have to go from being taught to leading to teaching, right? For us in this church, we have to go from consuming to contributing. It's a hard shift, and it takes a lot of intention to say, okay, God, even though I might not feel ready, even though I might feel like it's not quite the season, you are moving me into that season, so the preparation from before must be for this time. He didn't accidentally call each and every one of us to go from being taught to becoming teachers, from being consumers to being contributors. It's a transition. And it's also the same transition, again, young people, if you just kind of finished a major transition in your life, it's also one of those things that now you're used to. Like I said, you're used to mom and dad's got the gas, mom and dad's got the food. Like, it's good. Like, I can open the fridge and automatically there is pizza rolls in the freezer. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden you open the freezer in your dorm and you're like, I got Jack but ice chips. And I guess that's what I'm eating. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's a transition that you have to face. And when you start to notice that lack, it's on purpose. When you start to notice, something's missing, it's you. You're what's missing. Like, something's missing, it's because now it's your responsibility to begin to say, hey, I'm going to take this thing on. Like, I'm going to begin to take this on. Okay, let's keep reading. So we were in Joshua 1. We had stopped a little bit in verse 2. So he goes on to say, now then, you and all these people get ready to cross the Jordan River into the land I'm about to give them to the Israelites. And I will give you every place where you set your foot. Two things right there. I'm going to stop just right there for a second. Number one, when God is talking to you and he says, get ready, you should probably start getting ready. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to tell you guys right now, again, it is not by accident that you're at this church. It is not by accident that you're in this service. Every single person who is hearing this, I want to encourage you, get ready. Because we are shifting, you are shifting in your life, in your marriage, to becoming something new. Somebody who is a territory taker, who is a contributor. And he says, hey, get ready. Why? Because I will give you. You don't have to earn it. You couldn't. There's not anything that you could do. Just begin to prepare to receive from the Lord. And he says, I will give you every single place you set your foot. That is a tremendous promise from God. You know what that means? That means when you set your foot down and say, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord, I will give you a home that is full of peace. When you begin to say, God, I'm tired of the enemy all up in my finances. I'm laying down the law finally. I'm going to serve you with the way that I honor you with my money, with my finances, with my tithes. I won't begin to squander things. I'm getting ready and preparing my life in my house for my finances to look like what you've called it to. He says, I will give that to you when you begin to set your foot down. Every single place, right? We don't work for man. Most of us in this place, we have jobs, right? But we're not working to please our boss. The Bible says that we work and do everything as unto God. And so here's the deal. He says, man, get ready, because you're not waiting for your manager to set the standard in your home or in your workplace. You are saying, hey, you know what? I'm just going to set the standard. I'm going to begin to be a thermostat everywhere that I go. I'm going to set the temperature. There's not going to be these things where people are talking however they want to talk, living however they want to live around me. I'm actually going to set the temperature. Right? I love this one story. I don't know, I'm here, and you guys are just going to listen. But I love this one story. Recently, I was talking to another pastor of a church. They have 11 campuses. It's absolutely ridiculous. They're in Southern California. And he said, hey, during this past Resurrection Sunday, this past Easter Sunday, he said, hey, I want to do something a little bit differently. And so instead of doing communion for the service, they give out communion kits. And some people handed out like 15, 20, however many communion kits, and could take them into their workplaces, their schools, wherever, and begin to bring church to wherever they were going. Right? Well, one family had a cruise that they were, planning on going on. And so they said, hey, you know what? Give us like 30 communion kits. We're going to take them on the cruise. And we're going to do communion on the cruise. So they decide, hey, I'm going to be a thermostat. I'm going to just begin to set the temperature. They're sitting out in one of the kind of public common areas on a cruise ship on Easter Sunday. And they start popping open communion, and they start praying, and they start praising. You think that's good? Just wait. So then one of the random band members who's part of the cruise musicians happens to see them doing this and say, hey, I'm not on stage right now. I've got my guitar in my room. Can I grab my guitar and just start worshiping with you? And then random people on the ship say, hey, you know what? I sing for my church, and I sing in other places, and I do this. Can I begin to sing with you? And then one of the directors from the place says, hey, you know what? If you guys are going to do this here, can we begin to just bring another group of people? And there was like 30 to 50 people on a cruise ship that turned it into a worship service on a cruise ship, because God says, man, you just begin to prepare, and I'm going to turn you into the church and send you out and send you out and send you out. Get ready. Here's the thing. God calls us to step out into faith. And here's what I'm telling you about that. The step of faith isn't after you're ready. It's before you're ready, right? When I say, God, I got it figured out, and I got my degree, and I'm super smart, and I've got all these accomplishments, and look at my awards. Now I'm ready. No, you're not. Now you're full of pride. Like, you know what I'm saying? And you're saying in your own skills so that you can boast. It's when we say, God, I'm not ready, but I'm going to trust in you. I'm going to trust on you. You're going to equip me as I go. I'll take one step and then another step and then another step, and you will light my path. That's when you don't need the whole map. You just need the one step. That's when all of a sudden God goes, cool, I can work with that, because that is an obedient son or an obedient daughter. Just take the step out into the direction that God is calling you and watch him begin to illuminate your path one step at a time. I'm telling you, get ready. Here's the deal. The other thing that kind of I think is important for us to highlight, another tension. The previous skills, the skills that made Moses a great deliverer, right? Moses took people out of Egypt and, out of slavery, and it was their exodus. But the skills that Moses had to be a great deliverer are not the same skills that Joshua needed in order for him to be able to settle people into them becoming a great nation. Like, they're two different callings and two different purposes, two different reasons for what's going on there. The promised place looks way different than the desert. And here's what I'm going to say, and I know it doesn't apply to everybody in the room, but I believe I need to say it. I don't think it was an accident that our name used to be Oasis, but we're out of a desert. Yeah. So here's the deal. We had at one point, I'm not going to say anything. We had at one point a great leader whose calling was to transition us through the desert, however long that took. But there is a different calling that is happening. God is establishing Thrive Stockton. He is establishing a people who look different, who's building colony and community and taking land. He tells Joshua, no matter where you go, he maps it out for him and says, go in any direction that I send you out, where you step your foot, it's yours. So I'm going to say, Thrive Stockton, any direction that we step our foot out into in faith, it is ours. Get ready. This is a preparing season. And the reason why we're out here still somewhat in the wilderness is because community is being built. A city is being built. A city that begins to be looked out on as a hill, so people will start to go, wow, that is a city full of light. That is a city full of hope. That is a city whose builder and maker is God. But it no longer falls to the legendary leader. He says, now you divide this into those who it's been given their inheritance. It is no longer the responsibility of just the leaders or the staff. The shift specifically here in Thrive Stockton is that he says, this is your inheritance. It belongs to you. So if you want to build this community, it belongs to you. If you want to see ground taken, you need to step your foot and step your butt into high gear, because it belongs to you. This is why we got to stop playing church. Because we are shifting into a season that went from wandering in the desert, not that there was anything wrong with that, but to taking land and establishing a nation for the Lord. It's a promised place. And I don't know how long that's going to take. And I don't even know what that's going to look like. But I do know it's going to take every single one of us. Every single one of us. So here's my last takeaway that I want to share with each and every one of you. You are equipped by God with courage and with his presence. Look at this. Joshua 1, verses 6 through 9. It starts like this. He says, be strong and courageous. This is God talking to Joshua. And all of a sudden, he is again in line, in step. You are hearing from the mouth of God the same words that Moses spoke to the people, the same words that Moses spoke to the leader, to Joshua. God himself is confirming, you're right where I planted you, and you are right in step with my plan. Be strong and courageous. Why? Because you will lead these people to inherit the land I swore to their ancestors to give them. Be strong and very courageous. I love that he added very courageous. Like, quit playing. Like, be very courageous. Be careful to obey all the laws that my servant Moses gave you. In other words, don't ignore what was established beforehand. Be careful to actually continue to honor that. Do not turn from it. I'm going to fast forward just a little bit. And it says, keep this book of the law always on your lips. Meditate on it day and night so that you may be careful to do everything written in it. Then you will be prosperous and succeed. Verse 9, have I not commanded you? Was not a suggestion or a question. From the mouth of God, it is a command. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Again, whether or not that's you saying, men, it is time for me to pick up the charge and lead my family differently. And everybody in your family might be, my dad is tripping. My husband is tripping. He got all on this God stuff. No, be strong and courageous, right? Because God is with you. For Thrive Stockton, why should we be strong and courageous? Here's the thing I love. He said it 3 times. And here's the thing that I love about that. Why would he have said that? I believe that it's because courage does not come naturally or easily. Like, it's my first, if I said to you, hey, jump off that building. Hey, step out on the water. You know what I'm saying? hey, just put that apple on your head. I just want to try something. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, no matter what I say, strong and courageous is not like the first thing when we step out into an uncertain, scary, unknown place. But this is why I love the way that God set this up for him. Because God doesn't say, hey, be courageous, Joshua, because of your accomplishments. Be courageous because of your ability. Or even be courageous because of all the years behind you of all your accomplishments and what you did. He says, be strong and courageous. Why? Because the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. He takes the responsibility off of Joshua. He takes the responsibility off you and I. And he says, listen, I'm calling you to step out into faith and to go into unknown places and to be the church wherever I've called you to go, not because you got the skills, but because you've got me and I'm with you and won't forsake you. Here's what I'm saying to you. Courage does not come from all of the awards we've had or the boxes we've ticked. Courage comes from his presence. The Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Courage comes from his presence. If we struggle to have boldness, right? Like, it's like, man, I've got family members who are struggling, but they're never going to give their lives to the Lord. Be courageous enough to speak something different and maybe step into that path and change it for them. But that courage comes because we've been in his presence. Now, I know some of you guys might feel some sort of way about it, and that's fine, but I have tattoos. We can talk about it in another message, but not today. But on my arm, it says presence over permission. And the reason why it says presence over permission is because I will continually chase after God's presence, and I need no man's permission to do so. We do not need man's permission to do what God has called us to do, right? But what we do need is God, right? So you can't step out and be strong and courageous in any direction in your life and trust that God's going to see you through it without him. It's got to be a situation where you say, first, again, what did Moses do? Moses got with the Lord, heard from him, then told the people, right? Then he told Joshua. Joshua got with the Lord, he heard from the Lord. And again, Joshua clearly was not like, we can infer some things from the context. Joshua obviously wasn't like, yeah, I got this. Why? Because God had to tell him, be strong, be courageous, don't be afraid, 3 times. You know what that tells me? From the moment that Moses said, hey, Joshua, come on up, and Joshua is walking up, in his ear you're hearing, be strong, be courageous, you got this. Because he's like, I don't got this. Like immediately, Joshua, even as he is going to lead people, he's like, no. Like, here's the thing. And God himself is saying, no, be strong, be courageous, you do got this. And what I want to tell each and every one of you is you are equipped. Be strong, be courageous, you got this. Like, you've got this. Here's the thing. Graduation is not just about achievement. It's about alignment. It's not just about achievement. It's about alignment. When God begins to promote us into new callings, it's because there was an alignment of his purpose and his plan prior to that. But the only way that we stay aligned is to make God's word the compass of our everyday life. And so in your homes, in your family, in your finances, in your friendships, especially young people, I know you'll be like, man, I ain't listening to this guy. Listen, I'm trying to help you out. Like, in your friendships and your relationships, like Mo, Aaron, in your friendships and your relationships, seriously, like, be strong and courageous to stand up and say, hey, you know what? God's word is going to start to become a compass in my life. And I want to begin to align my life so that way I can have what God said I can have and do what God's created me to do and be who he's called me to be. I want to encourage you guys. As I begin to close and the worship team comes up, I want to highlight one last kind of major thing. For Joshua, he spent decades in the shadows. He spent decades in the shadows. Because here's the reality of our, God, I want you to use me. God, I want to step out. God, I want to preach. I want to sing. I want to lead. I want to do this and all of that. You are tested in secret. You are trusted in public. We are tested in secret. We are trusted in public, right? We go from preparation to purpose. And we cannot despise that first part. We cannot look down at that first part, where we're building relationship just between us and the Lord. So when he speaks to you and he calls you, he also goes, I can trust you. You've shown yourself faithful. You didn't give up where most people would have given up. You didn't just walk out the door because the music didn't sound the way that you wanted it to, or the message didn't look the way that you wanted it to, or the person on stage wasn't who you prefer. You were tested. And God's going, let me check your heart. And let me kind of hear what's going on in here first. And will you trust me even when it doesn't quite look the part? Moses didn't even get to go to the promised land. Spent 40 years setting them up so that someone else could finally hit the home run. But the reason is because he's going, God, you know what? I'd rather see your purpose than my name be glorified. And we got to be a people that says, hey, you know what? I would rather see your promise come to pass. I would rather walk in your purpose than walk in comfort, walk in ease, walk in me getting everything that I want. It's got to be a place where we say, hey, you know what, God, test me. Test me and see if I don't, search me, oh Lord. Search my heart, search my thoughts, search my desires. See if I won't remain faithful even when it's not easy. And as we do this, young people especially, man, like it is so hard to stay faithful to God if you're anything under 20. It is so hard. Maybe even anything under 30. Like, let's just be real. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's hard. I'm gonna say it. There's not too many. It's hard to stay a virgin. Like, it's hard. It's hard when all of your friends want you to smoke or drink, when it's graduation day or these big monuments, and it's like, but that's what everybody else gets to do. It's hard to hold your ground. But he says, man, let me test you in private so that I can show how good you are, how great my purpose and plan was, how much I've got for you, what greater gifts I have for you if you'll just trust me. I want to show you off. Young people, you have a great promised future that God wants to show off through you. But let him take you through the preparation so you can get to the purpose and you can get to the promise. And here's the last thing that I want to say to all of us and to all of you, and I believe that I have to. I don't even necessarily want to, but I believe that I have to. Thrive Stockton is being sent into new territory. And when I say Thrive Stockton, I'm not talking about the name or the organization. I'm talking about us as a people. I'm talking about the actual church. New territory. It is a new thing that God is doing. But he's doing it with purpose and with preparation. And most importantly, he's doing it with his presence on every step. He is with us. He is with you. And I want to tell you that wherever you go, God goes with you. He promises that he will never leave you or forsake you. But he's telling us, get ready. This is a season of preparation. Preparation for your homes, for your family, for young people, your next season of life, to go from high to college, or to go from college into stepping out into a greater amount of influence than you've ever had and a greater amount of freedom than you may have ever had. But in order to do that, let God begin to prepare your heart. Let him begin to move through you and in your life. And get ready.